The rise of Bernard Arnault from an engineer to the undisputed king of global fashion and luxury goods has been nothing short of magnificent. Indeed, this is a story that has seen him turn LVMH into a world-leading brand in just over 3 decades. But while this isn't your archetypal rags to riches kind of fairy tale, the Bernard Arnault story is still every bit as inspiring and, well, controversial. In today's video, we will give you the details of how Bernard Arnault turned LVMH into the most valuable company in Europe and a cape in the fashion and luxury goods industry. Let's do this. Bernard Arnault, beginnings of a fashion tycoon. It all started in 1984, when the French government began looking for buyers for the popular fashion empire, Baussac. The story goes that Baussac had filed for bankruptcy that year and was practically on the verge of collapse. So a certain engineer called Bernard Arnault saw an opportunity and took it. But it wasn't even Baussac itself that caught Arnault's eye. It was Christian Dior, a luxury brand that was the jewel in the crown of the Baussac empire. At the time, a 35-year-old Arnault had been working as an engineer at his grandfather's construction firm for a decade. He probably didn't enjoy it, or perhaps it was just that natural burning desire to find his own way. Either way, Arnault would muster $4 to $5 million in total to purchase Baussac by taking $15 million from his family, plus an additional $4 to $5 million from a French financial institution known as Les Freres. Then, a series of tough business decisions took place. Arnault would lay off about 9,000 of Baussac's workers and sell off the disposable diaper division and a huge part of its textile wing for $500 million. And by the way, these business decisions helped his company become 20 times as large as his family's $15 million a year manufacturing business, only 2 years after acquiring Baussac. It also unsurprisingly earned him the title as a force to reckon with in French business. I bet his grandfather and the rest of his family would have been proud. 3 years later, Mr. Arnault went to make another critical business decision that set him on course to become one of the world's richest men. We'll tell you that business decision in a bit, but here's a suggestion for you. If you want to know more about billionaires like Bernard Arnault, then subscribe to our channel for the latest updates and news on how they live their lives. You don't want to miss a thing. Arnault's LVMH through the years. In 1989, 5 years after his purchase and subsequent transformation of Baussac, Arnault went on to engineer a majority stake in Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, LVMH, a company birthed by the merger of fashion house Louis Vuitton and champagne producer Moet Hennessy. Then, after just over a year, he became president of LVMH after completely buying it out. Today, LVMH currently has about 60 subsidiaries, including up to 75 companies, some of which even compete against each other to see who can make more money for Arnault. It is quite obvious that Mr. Arnault's business model has inspired many other brands in the fashion industry today, including Kering, which happens to be LVMH's fiercest rival. Arnault proudly told CNBC in 2018 that for the last 10 years, every competitor is trying to imitate, which is very rewarding for us. He even went on to gloat in typical Arnault fashion, excuse the pun, saying that I think they are not successful, but they try. Well, that statement is probably not entirely true, especially as Kering became successful on the back of winning a long battle with LVMH for the control of popular Italian luxury brand Gucci. Kering currently has a market capitalization of $95 billion, according to Forbes. Still, I'm pretty sure it doesn't bother Arnault very much, seeing as LVMH is worth almost 4 times as Kering owns 75 companies compared to Kering's 5. So it's practically a no contest. Now let's get into the highlights in how Arnault grew LVMH to acquire some of his 75 companies under LVMH's umbrella. 80s and 19s. Apart from Louis Vuitton in 1987, the highlight of the 80s was definitely LVMH's acquisition of Givenchy in 1988. The couture and the ready-to-wear brand remained a profitable subsidiary of LVMH, posting a sales revenue of $37 million in 2021. Additionally, LVMH acquired TAG Heuer, the 162-year-old Swiss watchmaker, and the reported amount at the time was a whopping $739 million. which was just for 50.1% of the company. I'm sure that's not entirely surprising. If you know the worth of your tacular watch, give me a thumbs up if you own one. 2000s. The 2000s notably saw Fendi and Hermes join the LVMH family. Initially, LVMH and Prada both had stakes in Fendi, but in 2001, LVMH bought out Prada's stake, and by the end of 2003, LVMH will own a total of 84% in Fendi shares. This tactic pretty much defines how Arnault meticulously built his LVMH empire. Conscientious stock purchases, a bit like Warren Buffett, but not in Silicon Valley this time, rather the fashion and luxury goods industry. But if Warren Buffett is a saint, Arnault, on the other hand, had his controversies, especially in his botched LVMH acquisition of its rival company, Hermes, in 2001. This is practically telling you in advance that you could describe Bernard Arnault as a crook. But then again, doesn't every business person have those instincts? Well, LVMH initially bought a 4.9% stake in Hermes through subsidiaries and continued to secretly acquire more shares in Hermes through derivatives from different banks. By 2013, LVMH had amassed up to 23.1% shares. However, French authorities uncovered that LVMH was amassing the shares to take control of rival Hermes, but not to invest in them as they had claimed. In the end, a French court ordered that LVMH's stake in Hermes should be fully distributed, meaning they no longer held shares in Hermes as of 2015. Wild, wild stuff. 2010s. The biggest wins for Arnault and LVMH were Fenty and Christian Dior. Although Arnault had been a major shareholder of Christian Dior, LVMH technically gained full ownership of the couture house in 2017. In what was a mega $13.1 billion deal, meaning Arnault had fully achieved his dream of owning Christian Dior after 3 decades. 2 years later, in 2019, LVMH acquired a 50.01% stake in Fendi, a cosmetic brand set up by music icon Rihanna in 2017. She currently owns 49.99% of the brand. The 2010 saw LVMH also acquire stakes in brands like Moët, Nicholas Kirkwood, Rimmel, and Stella McCartney. But which of these major brands are your favorite? Tell us below in the comments. 2020s and beyond. LVMH confirmed the biggest deal in its history when it acquired all the shares of U.S. jeweler Tiffany & Co. in 2020. That too wasn't without a bit of customary controversy. However, after a renegotiation, both parties agreed to a deal worth in furtherance of $15.8 billion. A year later, Arnault's LVMH bought a 60% stake in Off-White, the fashion company founded by the late American designer Virgil Abloh. Even at 72, Bernard Arnault isn't slowing down in his relentless pursuit of keeping LVMH at the top while gathering all the riches as they come. Last we checked, he and his family are the second wealthiest people on the planet. So you can imagine the kind of life they're living. Well, in case you want to know more, check out our video on Bernard Arnault lifestyle, 6 most expensive things of Bernard Arnault. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching this video. However, see you later.